Police in Memphis are investigating the death of a well-known gang leader. Jessica Gertler has the details.
Police swarmed a white Cadillac that plowed through a fence near the airport Thursday afternoon. Sitting inside, officers say they found a woman, Candid Sanders, and a man, Ronald Terry, both shot to death.
Now in our crime watch this afternoon, a federal jury has convicted the leader of a prison gang on drug and money laundering offenses. 44-year-old Charles Elsea is a longtime inmate of the Tennessee Department of Corrections, and he faces a maximum life sentence in prison.
In this video, we're diving into the dark and complex world of gang leadership in Tennessee, focusing on 5 notorious figures whose criminal activities have left a lasting impact on their communities. From orchestrating drug trafficking empires from behind bars to leading violent street gangs, these individuals represent the reach and influence of organized crime in the state. We'll explore the cases of Ronald Terry, Charles Elsea Jr., Alim J, Turner, Terry Cockeye Smith, and Dustin Keith Overbay, unraveling the stories behind their rise to power, their eventual downfall, and the consequences of their actions.
Police in Memphis are investigating the death of a well-known gang leader. Jessica Gertler has the details.
Police swarmed a white Cadillac that plowed through a fence near the airport Thursday afternoon. Sitting inside, officers say they found a woman, Candid Sanders, and a man, Ronald Terry, both shot to death.
There's a homicide investigation still pending with regard to his death, so I can't, comment on that.
Shelby County Assistant District Attorney Paul Hagerman knew Terry. He was one of the prosecutors when Terry, or who many knew as Big Pookie, went to trial in 2006 for trying to kill a fellow gang member he thought betrayed him.
During the trial, there was testimony that he was a leader of the Vice Lords here in Memphis, that he had come from Memphis from Chicago and from Illinois to help organize and lead the Vice Lords here in Memphis.
Other witnesses confirmed Terry's high-ranking role.
He had about a 17-year sentence. He probably served about 11 years of that sentence until he was released fairly recently.
Police are now trying to figure out what led to his murder. What's clear, hours after, the Tennessee Department of Corrections locked down every prison in the state due to information received from external law enforcement.
The murder of a high-ranking gang leader has law enforcement across the area on high alert this morning. For the past week, there have been rumblings about prisons on lockdown and obscure warnings coming from the TBI.
Local 24 News reporter Janae Fratzita is working the story for us in East Memphis. Janae, you're learning more about the details that are emerging regarding what's really going on here.
John, a major gang leader was among 2 people killed in a double homicide last week. Take a look. Ronald Terry and Candid Sanders were killed inside a car on Dwight Road near Airways, just blocks from the Memphis airport. The day after the murder, the Tennessee Department of Corrections locked down every prison in the state. Now, we're told there was concern fights could break out in Tennessee prisons due to Terry's murder. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation issued a vague warning for law enforcement to be vigilant after word spread that a hit may have been put out on law enforcement.
In 2006, Ronald Terry, an alleged Memphis gang leader, faced serious charges for the attempted murder of another Vice Lord. During his trial, Terry surprised everyone when he changed his plea midway through closing arguments, accepting a 15-year prison sentence. But before that dramatic twist, he took the stand and offered an inside look at the Vice Lord inner workings. Terry, known as Big Pokey or Porky, recounted the day he was blessed in to the Vice Lords back on August 10, 1998. He described how he quickly rose through the ranks to become a 5-star universal elite, overseeing South Memphis as his territory. According to Terry, the Vice Lords operate like a structured government, complete with officers and committees. He explained that the gang's leadership is not centralized under one person, but rather formed by a committee representing each branch, creating what they call the nation. Terry specifically identified with the UVL, or Unknown Vice Lords, one of the many branches within this complex organization. Terry revealed that much of the Vice Lord's symbolism is drawn from the back of a dollar bill. The 21 bricks of the pyramid, he said, represent the 21 branches of the organization. While the eye is seen as the eye of Allah watching over his people, the Vice Lords, according to Terry, have strong ties to Islamic faith, with members even memorizing verses from the Quran as part of their initiation. He also spoke about the gang's strict bylaws, its literature, and the principles members are expected to follow, with meetings held every Friday. Terry claimed that he left gang life behind in 2004, acknowledging that exposing these secrets put his life and his family's lives at risk. However, during the trial, a Memphis police officer testified that the gangs in Memphis weren't as organized as Terry had portrayed. Fast forward to 2019. Ronald Terry, now 49, was found shot to death alongside a woman named Candid Sanders in a parked car in southeast Memphis. The news of his death sent shockwaves through the city, leading the Tennessee Department of Corrections to lock down every prison in the state. The murder of a man once seen as the leader of the Memphis Vice Lords raised fears of a potential retaliation and further violence in both the streets and the penitentiaries.
Now, in our Crime Watch this afternoon, a federal jury has convicted the leader of a prison gang on drug and money laundering offenses. 44-year-old Charles Elsea is a longtime inmate of the Tennessee Department of Corrections, and he faces a maximum life sentence in prison. The investigation began back in the spring of 2017 when local and federal agencies found him to be the leader of a prison gang, running drug operations while behind bars, saying he arranged purchases from his prison cell and directed co-conspirators to bring the drug from other states here to Tennessee, adding that he used the money from these sales to create marijuana and grow houses in and around the state. Police claim that he also started 2 marijuana grow operations while the case was pending, using jail's video system to speak with others.
In a shocking case that highlights the reach of organized crime even behind bars, a Tennessee prison gang leader named Elsea was sentenced for his role in distributing drugs. The court also ordered him to forfeit a staggering $1.26 million in illegal proceeds, which he had amassed through drug trafficking and money laundering. Elsea's story is even more disturbing when you consider his background. He was already serving a prison sentence for first-degree murder, stemming from a 1996 homicide in Hamilton County, Tennessee. But rather than being contained by prison walls, Elsea rose through the ranks to become the state president of a notorious Tennessee-based prison gang known as Brotherhood Forever. From within the prison, Elsea orchestrated a massive drug trafficking operation, using smuggled cell phones to manage his criminal empire on the outside. He directed multi-kilo drug deals, with drugs being transported from as far as California and Arizona into Tennessee. But it didn't stop there. Elsea and his network used the profits from these meth deals to finance grow houses both within and outside of Tennessee. Incredibly, Elsea even continued his illegal activities while this case was ongoing. He set up 2 new grow operations, using the jail's video system to communicate with his co-conspirators about the cultivation process. Despite being behind bars, Elsea's criminal enterprise flourished until it was finally brought to an end. This case serves as a stark reminder of the lengths to which some criminals will go to maintain control and power, even while imprisoned. In a major crackdown on gang-related crime, a convicted gang leader from Knoxville has been sentenced to life in prison, plus an additional 10 years on serious charges including drug trafficking, firearms violations, and money laundering. This sentencing comes after Alim J. Turner, just 23 years old, was found guilty alongside 6 other members of a notorious gang in East Tennessee. Turner wasn't just any gang member. Witnesses at the trial identified him as the Knoxville leader of the violent street gang known as the Unknown Ghost Vice Lords. This gang was heavily involved in the distribution of a dangerous cocktail of drugs. But it didn't stop there. They also faced charges for possessing firearms in furtherance of their drug trafficking activities, as well as illegally distributing drugs and unlawfully possessing firearms across East Tennessee. The sentencing, handed down by Honorable Thomas A. Varlin of the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Tennessee, was influenced by Turner's significant role as a leader and organizer of crime in the Knoxville area. United States Attorney Francis M. Hamilton III didn't mince words, saying, "Gang violence, coupled with armed trafficking of lethal drugs, has resulted in devastation and death within our community." This sentence sends a powerful message that armed gang leaders who recruit and use minors to flood the community with drugs and who employ credible threats of violence in their crimes will face justice. In a series of events that spanned over 3 years, Dustin Keith Overbay, a convicted felon and high-ranking member of the Vice Lords gang, found himself repeatedly in trouble with the law in East Tennessee. Let's break down this story of crime, firearms, and a descent into delusion. It all started in December 2017, when a Hawkins County grand jury indicted Overbay, a resident of Mount Carmel, on 3 counts of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Overbay had previously been convicted of a felony in Sullivan County for drug charges, yet he was caught with multiple firearms and drug paraphernalia in his possession. This marked the beginning of a legal battle that would only intensify in the years to come. Fast forward to June 2019, and Overbay was back in the spotlight. This time, he was arrested by a joint SWAT team from Sullivan County and Kingsport Police at a home in Kingsport. Overbay was wanted on multiple outstanding felony warrants from both Hawkins and Sullivan counties. Authorities had received tips about Overbay's whereabouts and confirmed his location with the help of the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office Vice and Narcotics Department. When they moved in, they found Overbay in the living room, armed with a .38 caliber pistol, a serious violation for a convicted felon. But Overbay wasn't the only one facing charges that day. Matthew Carpenter, the homeowner, was found downstairs with a sawed-off shotgun and a stolen semi-automatic pistol, along with 3 grams of drugs. Another individual, Brian Belcher, was also arrested at the scene on a fugitive warrant from Virginia. Overbay was charged with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, while Carpenter faced multiple charges, including drug possession, possession of a stolen firearm, and introducing contraband into a penal facility. But the story takes an even darker turn in 2020. In January, police were called to Overbay's residence on Bay Street in Mount Carmel after he reportedly fired a stolen pistol inside his home. Overbay, described by police as having delusional tendencies, claimed he saw people who weren't there, including a baby in his closet, and fired 2 shots at these imaginary figures. When officers arrived, they found Overbay in a state of confusion, denying any knowledge of the gunfire. However, they discovered a spent 9mm shell casing near his bed, and a subsequent search revealed a stolen 9mm semi-automatic handgun hidden in his great-aunt's room. The gun had been reported stolen from Kingsport. Overbay was arrested once again, charged with unlawful possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and possession of stolen property. He was released on a $10,000 bond, with a preliminary hearing set for February. This case is a chilling example of how a life of crime can spiral into paranoia and danger, putting not just the criminal, but those around them at risk. Overbay's story isn't just about the crimes he committed. It's also a stark reminder of the consequences of a life entangled in gang activity and illegal firearms. In a significant development, officials with the Tennessee Department of Corrections Office of Investigations and Conduct have announced the federal indictment of a notorious gang leader, Terry Cockeye Smith. This indictment comes as part of a sweeping multi-state drug trafficking investigation aimed at cracking down on criminal networks operating both inside and outside of prisons. Smith, a high-ranking member of the infamous Vice Lords street gang, has been serving a 14-year sentence at the West Tennessee State Penitentiary for his role in the facilitation of attempted second-degree murder and aggravated assault. But now, his criminal activities have caught up with him on a much larger scale, leading to his transfer from state to federal custody. Commissioner Tony Parker highlighted the importance of this indictment, stating, "This is a huge step toward keeping drugs and other contraband out of our facilities." As Smith faces his new charges, this case serves as a stark reminder that criminal enterprises, even those operated from behind bars, are not beyond the reach of justice. These cases serve as stark reminders of the dangerous power wielded by gang leaders, even from behind prison walls. While law enforcement continues to fight against the tide of organized crime, the stories of Terry, Elsea, Turner, Smith, and Overbay highlight the ongoing battle to secure our communities from the grip of gangs. As these individuals face the consequences of their crimes, we're left to reflect on the broader impact of their actions on the lives of those around them and the relentless efforts required to bring them to justice. Stay tuned for more in-depth stories on crime, gangs, and the fight for justice.